Hello, everyone, and welcome to the last in our trilogy, From Limited to Liberated. Those of you who know me aren't used to seeing me in a colorful shirt. We incorporated Om School in Canada. Lisa, my partner in this business, is Canadian, so I'm channeling my inner Canadian. So how do I look? Anyway, from limited to liberated. In the second of the trilogy, the second act, as it were, we started liberating desire, just to let our desire be liberated. Now, there's another step to go beyond that. And that is, as we liberate desire, we become more and more and more who we really are. It becomes a real internal metamorphosis or alchemy that goes on. Right. From this place of liberated desire, we can begin to take the idea of liberation a step further, to discover that all the limits on us are in the mind. They're in our beliefs. Now, if you've known me for a bit, you know that I do a whole lot more about beliefs, say a whole lot more about beliefs than just it's thoughts, right? It's thoughts you keep thinking. It's true. Beliefs are thoughts you keep thinking over and over again, but there's a reason why we keep thinking them over and over again. The thoughts themselves are not the belief. The belief is something that holds particular patterns of thought in place. And that belief simply drives our attention. The attention is the focal power. If I keep putting my attention on something, and it keeps drawing me in, and it keeps engaging me, well, those same thoughts are going to sustain, and even they're going to bring their buddies to the party. You've all had the experience, I'm sure, of having a conversation with somebody or a group of people, and it starts to head in a negative direction. You know, somebody's having a problem. Oh yeah, I have that problem too, and or people love that when they get into politics. Everything that's wrong with politics. Before you know it, hours have gone by, and it's just one very unpleasant thing after another of all the things that could go wrong. This is kind of the way it works. Some call it the law of attraction in psychology. It's simply the associative psychology. It's the way our minds work. They take whatever they've got and they begin to associate it with other things. And if those other things get the attention of you, well, then they start associating with others. And before you know it, you're really down this dark corridor. Now, you may have also had the experience of being with somebody or a group of people. I recently had an experience where I was a group of people, and we'd been to some event, and in the event, people were telling jokes. So sitting around afterwards having a conversation, and somebody told a joke, right? It was kind of the spirit of the night, and then somebody else told a joke. And somebody else told one. 2 hours later, everybody's telling jokes, and we're laughing our butts off, right? Same thing, associative. It was funny. Funny, more funny. Bring in the funny, guys. This is really the way that our psychology works. It's simply the way the mind works. Now, recognizing that, we can use it to our advantage. And that is, we notice the patterns of thought that are dark, that are going to head down into the basement, and those that are going to head up to the skylights. Right? And we give attention to those. That's where all the limits are. Limits are all our attention. So somebody says to themselves, boy, I just can't, I'm just not smart enough to get this. I just don't get this. Or I'm not rich enough, or I'm not young enough, or I'm not old enough, or I'm not handsome enough, or I'm not pretty enough, I'm not strong enough. All of these things, if they get your attention, you'll find all the other reasons why you can't. That simple sense of being limited. But if you recognize that the sense of being limited is itself a mistake, it is a belief that is influencing the pattern of thoughts and holding our attention, then suddenly you begin to back off from that. Well, wait a minute. That's a limiting thought. That's not really true. But if I believe it to be true, I'm going to experience it as true. So I'm making a concerted effort now to remove my attention from that. This is where the rubber meets the road in terms of really implementing the kind of things you've been learning through this, and I teach in the Looking class and pretty much every other class I teach, this idea of how to get to the root of these beliefs, see that they are beliefs. It's not like you even have to go in and change them. The moment you see something isn't true, your mind immediately starts looking for what is. It immediately starts gravity. It immediately starts letting go of the old patterns. Now, there will be a momentum to it. There'll be something that keeps coming back up. So, which means you're going to have to exercise your muscles a bit. That's why it's a practice and not just a blah, and not just a big explosion and, angels sing and all of that. It's a practice. Because once you see something, the momentum of the nervous system, the habit energy of the nervous system, which is a term Buddha used by the way. So it's not new, right? There's this habit energy. There's this momentum to the way we think and feel, and that insight that that isn't actually true. We keep coming back to that, and every time it comes up, if it's met to that's not really true, and our attention goes elsewhere, even if it does nothing but just go to taking 3 deep breaths, so it does not engage and therefore empower this flow of the habitual flow of thought, that the attractiveness of that thought will lose its authority. It will lose its power. It won't be attractive anymore until finally it becomes like a radio playing in another room you can barely hear, until it's finally gone. You've put up soundproofing on the wall and you can't hear it at all. This is the process of the everyday practice, day in and day out practice of moving from limited to liberated. The liberation actually takes place first. The liberation first takes place in the seeing of a belief as a belief. I really should say from liberated to unlimited. Because it starts there, and that begins to, with practice, dismantle all of the limitations that have been playing in our minds, that have been acted out in our lives, manifested in our lives as if they were true. And before you get that it is, that your experience out here is a direct reflection of these beliefs in here, you think your beliefs have been caused by the circumstances. I'm not free. I'm limited because look at my circumstances. When in fact, the circumstances are created by the belief that that you are limited in some way, and that came first. Oftentimes it got put into you by your parents, by culture, by schools, by media, by churches, because this was the belief that was instilled in you, and you just received it. You don't question it, just gets in. So the idea that I am limited or bad or sinful or stupid or any of those things, they got instilled in you first. They started manifesting, of course, then as your experience, which seemed to confirm it. Right? The evidence seems, it's true, isn't it? Look around. Not realizing that the evidence is evidence not of the truth, but of your belief. When the belief shifts, the limit is seen as a limit of belief, a limit of concept, a limited idea, and not actually the truth. The limit its days are numbered. Something inside you has been liberated, and if you give it enough time and enough energy, it'll eventually liberate everything else. And the thoughts will begin to do like that fun I had that evening when everybody started telling jokes. The same series of thoughts about all your limits will start turning into all of your thoughts about being unlimited. All the opportunities and wonder and stuff that is available to me, and I'm more than capable of receiving and playing in. So, welcome. Welcome to From Limited to Liberated. I hope you enjoy it. I know you're going to enjoy it, because I've been enjoying it. And so I will see you there, and enjoy your life, and enjoy my new shirt.